Shalom. Kal Halal Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to all the Akim doing this work in sincerity and in truth. This is the brother Yakanan from the GMS Houston camp, and this will just be a quick lesson going into leprosy. And there are different types of leprosies, and this one specifically is dealing with the house. And so from the title here, it says mold found in lungs of man who died in house with chronic damp. Inquest hears. So the Lord brought judgment upon this man, but how he brought out the judgment was through this mold. And in the scriptures, this is a form of leprosy. It's not just um, like Edomites having that pale skin. That pale skin is a form of leprosy. Having certain bumps and sores and the skin changing color are different forms of leprosy, but there's more. So just to go into the article, a type of mold was found in the lungs of a 27-year-old man who died in a house that had chronic damp, which is also, you're not supposed to live in these kind of moist, kind of damp, humid environments, because these are breeding grounds for different molds, spores, funguses, different things. Like even those German cockroach or German roaches, those those bugs, different insects and whatnot. They like these kind of moist environments, and they thrive in them. But continuing on, a pathologist has told an inquest the family of Luke Brooks believed mold in their privately rented end of terrace house in Oldham caused his death. On Tuesday, consultant pathologist Abdul Ganji Frokwala told an inquest that Brooks had died from acute respiratory distress syndrome, which was caused by Aspergillus pneumonia. He said Aspergillus, a type of mold, was found in the deceased man's lungs during a post-mortem examination. So he had those mold spores in the house, and he was breathing that in, and those mold spores ended up getting in his lungs and messing up his respiratory system, to where his body was attacking the stuff, but they couldn't do anything about it. The Lord punched his clock. But you get that stuff in your system, ain't nothing you can do. And that's pretty much all I'm gonna read from the article, because he died from the mold spores. The Lord killed him with the mold spores. We'll put it like that. So continuing on, we're gonna go to Leviticus chapter 14 and verse 33, and this is in the KJV from the King James Bible app, or the website. I like this website because it's pretty handy. Like you can remember, if you can't remember the exact precept, but you can remember some of the words that are in the precept or a phrase, it'll pull it up. It'll pull it up and help narrow it down. It's pretty handy. It even, you click on a word. Well, let me just read, and then we'll go into that. Leviticus chapter 14 and verse 33. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, when ye be come into the land of Canaan, which I give to you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession. So let's look at this word plague real quick. Plague, H5061, Nagai. And you see, it gives you the Paleo Hebrew, it gives you the Assyrian, it tells you the definition. It's pretty cool. A blow, also a spot, a plague, a sore, stricken, stripe, stroke, wound. So basically, the house is plagued with leprosy. So or marked with leprosy or stroke. And so if you go to view usages, it's just going to go. It doesn't tell you how many different, but it basically pulls up all the words that are using that word. Was it Nagai? So yeah, that's pretty cool. But anyway, back to the thing. Back to the lesson. The play. When you become into the land of Canaan, which I give to you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession. And then let's also go to leprosy here. That word is Tazarite is leprosy. And then it's a malignant skin disease in clothing, mildew or mold, in buildings, a mildew or mold. But then even in the skin disease, it's different forms of leprosy. You have clean leprosy and you have unclean leprosy. But we're dealing with the buildings, and this is this I think this passage is also going to go into the clothing as well. But the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession, and he that owneth the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, It seemeth to me there is, as it were, a plague in the house. So you got to go. In the old day, back when we were in Israel, you would tell the priest that like it. I think there's a plague in the house. It seems like the house got leprosy. There's stuff going on. Then the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priests go in to see the plague, that all that is in the house be not made unclean. And afterward, the priest shall go in to see the house. So, I've seen this actually in my own uh, line of work as a mover. Is we'll be moving stuff, and you might see on the back of a dresser. You might not necessarily see it on the walls or whatever, but you'll see sometimes on the back of furniture or whatnot. You'll see mold spores and whatnot on there. But here, before the priest was to enter the house, you were to move all the furniture, everything out of the house. And he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls of the house, with hollow strakes, greenish or reddish, which in sight are lower than the wall. So this is, how do you say? Yeah, depression, meaning that the mold is set in the wall. Then the priest shall go out of the house to the door of the house and shut up the house 7 days. Then the priest shall come again the seventh day, and behold, if the plague be spread in the walls of the house, then the priest shall command they take away the stones in which the plague is, and they shall cast him into an unclean place without the city. So what they were supposed to do, like today we use drywall and whatnot. If that stuff is set in the drywall, you got to remove the drywall wherever the mold is and go throw it out. I guess would be a landfill today. You got to throw it outside the city. It can't be used again, and it's got to be in an unclean place. You're not going to throw it, in a clean place, like throw it in somebody's vineyard or something like that. It's got to go to the dump. It's got to be get rid of. And he shall cause the house to be scraped within round about, and they shall pour out the dust that they scrape off without the city into an unclean place. And they shall take other stones and put them in the place of those stones, and he shall take other mortar and shall plaster the house. If the plague come again and break out in the house, after that he taketh away the stones, and after he scrape the house, after it is plastered, then the priest shall come and look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the house, it is a fretting leprosy in the house, it is unclean. And he shall break down the house, and the stones of it, and the timber thereof, and all the mortar of the house, and he shall carry them forth out of the city into an unclean place. So if you replace the walls, the stones, what have you, and that mold comes back, you got to tear down the house. The house has to be rebuilt, and that's something, especially here. Like black mold is common, very common here, and they don't do any of that. They just replace the stuff. They they what do you call it? They just replace the drywall. They might spray some bleach on it or whatever, and that's it. They call it a day. And then you'll have people, a new family move in, and then they'll have respiratory problems, and then you can't figure it. Like, it's just fucking nonsense the way this place is run. But Yahweh Shai is coming back, and this is going to be set all in order. Moreover, he that goeth into the house, all the while that it is shut up, shall be unclean unto the evening. And he that lieth in the house shall wash his clothes, and he that eateth in the house shall wash his clothes. And if the priest shall come in and look upon it, and behold, the plague have not spread. Oh, slacky, let me go back to that. So, starting at 46 again. Moreover, he that goeth into the house, all the while that it is shut up, shall be unclean unto the evening. And he that lieth in the house shall wash his clothes, and he that eateth in the house shall wash his clothes. The saying that you being in an environment, your clothes are unclean, you're unclean, and you eating there is unclean. So you gotta wash your clothes, you gotta wash yourself, and you're unclean until the evening for being in that environment. And continuing on, and the priest shall come in and look upon it, and behold, the plague have not spread in the house after the house was plastered. Then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, because the plague is healed. And he shall take to cleanse the house 2 birds, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop, which we can't do that today. And he shall kill one of the birds in an earthen vessel over running water, which can't do that today. Can't do that today. You're gonna be in jail. And he shall take the cedar wood, and the hyssop, and the scarlet, and the living bird, and dip them in the blood of the slain bird, and in the running water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. And he shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, and with the running water, and with the living bird, and with the cedar wood, and with the hyssop, and with the scarlet. And he shall let the living bird out of the city into the open fields, and make an atonement for the house, and it shall be clean. This is the law for all manner of plague of leprosy and scall, for the leprosy of a garment and of a house. So I'm gonna wrap the lesson up there. Lord willing, this was edifying. But hey, shalom.